Current Event Team 6's presentation on the Oceania region. For Role 1, we have Stephen Carrera and Laine Hern. For Role 2, we have Nayla Henriquez, Kenneth, and Tobi, Arewa. For Role 3, we have Grace Cotting and Noah Carpenter. The Oceania region includes countries such as Australia, Hawaii, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea. The region is located within the bulk of the Pacific Ocean and is relatively southeast of China and relatively southwest of the United States. The Oceania region's total population is approximately 41 million people, similar to the state of California. The majority of people live in Australia, whose population sits around 24 million. The region's population growth is slowing, mainly due to the increase in female education and more opportunities in employment. However, this is not consistent across the region as a whole. Papua New Guinea and the Pacific Islands still have women mainly restricted to traditional roles. When it comes to climate change, the region is very susceptible to the impacts of climate change, especially over the past few decades. The region historically has also been subject to intensive mining and extractive measures from colonization, which has destroyed some specific environments in the region. Climate change brings unpredictable weather and rising sea levels, which these islands can't do much to counteract. More recently, countries such as Australia and New Zealand are committed to becoming much more climate friendly. Our first term is coral bleaching. With ocean waters warming, the living coral organisms expel certain algae that live inside them, which give coral its vibrant colors. It represents the severe impacts that climate change has on specific environments. Our second term is arable land. Arable land is land that can be used for agriculture, and it varies in each country. As we have seen in other regions, export-based economies often fail, but many islands in this region receive support from larger nations in order to help their economy. Our third term is endemic. Endemic refers to species native or restricted to a certain place. The Oceania region is home to many endemic species that are only found in certain parts of this region, and they don't exist anywhere else on Earth. Because this region is so susceptible to climate change, many endemic species are at risk of going extinct.
We chose Climate Change is Already Here by Miki Perkins for our article because we feel it appropriately expresses how climate change negatively affects the Oceanic region. One example of this are the Australian wildfires, which destroyed over 46 million acres of land. This left a major territory of land burned and uninhabitable for many animals, and worsened global temperatures for many months. This is just one of the many effects of climate change on the region. As climate change continues to worsen, Australia's future holds further increasing temperatures, greater sea level rise, and less rainfall in both eastern and southern Australia. This is predicted to cause more brush fires, major flooding, severe cyclones, and long-lasting droughts. Fall and winter rainfall has decreased to 60%, and temperatures have increased by 1.44 degrees Fahrenheit every year since 1920. Scientists predict that these temperature increases will continue for many years, despite our best efforts to reduce effects of climate change. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly reduced carbon emissions in this region due to a reduced transportation and energy consumption. However, these reductions are too small to see any vast improvements in climate change impacts. With almost 85% of the past decade's carbon emissions coming from heavily fossil fuel extractions, we won't see any improvement until strict regulations are put in place by this region. To emphasize how susceptible to climate change this region is, both of our discussion questions highlight the importance of analyzing and reducing its impacts. Our first question is, what is one restriction or regulation that this region's countries can implement to reduce the impacts of climate change? Discussion question 2 is, what are some specific aspects of this region that make it so vulnerable to climate change? Both of these questions can be answered by using the article Climate Change is Already Here, Major Scientific Report by Miki Perkins.